All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music and doing it in real time for a few real people out here, just like you there and just like me here. All right, so is this the last legitimate Van Halen album? I mean, everyone's got this album, right? Where you owned it at one time. Ted Templeman, by the way, said that he wasn't a fan of Jump. He thought it was way out of character for Van Halen and advised them not to put this on the album. But Eddie overruled, and Eddie was right. So, and Ted admits it, right? If you read Ted's book, and Ted's book is a great read, by the way, if you want to learn all things Van Halen. Another discussion point in that book, which is quite interesting, is they actually considered replacing Roth with Hagar before Van Halen even really got off the ground. So this conversation, this next little bit here about Sammy Hagar, who is spouting off about Alex Van Halen, is even more interesting, knowing what I know about the possibility of an early Sammy Hagar lead vocal for Van Halen, like Roth wouldn't have even been the vocalist. Anyway, so Sammy is posting stuff over on Instagram. He posted a picture from 1991 showing himself and Eddie Van Halen heading for the stage before a show. And Hagar noted that we all survived the era's fashion disasters. Well, yeah, I mean, in hindsight, but what was next? Ripped jeans and flannel shirts. So we went from all of the colors and the hairspray and whatnot. These guys, I don't think were wearing spandex. I don't remember anybody in Van Halen. Maybe, well, Roth used to, right? Roth wore spandex. And maybe Sammy did too. I don't know. But anyway, he survived the fashion disaster. The mood changed, though, because there are a few comments. My dad always said the Roth days were about the party. The Sammy days were about the music. That's pretty insightful. That's some pretty good dad commentary right there. Dad commentary. It's a dad joke. Another follower then wrote, no disrespect to Alex Van Halen, but it's okay to like Van Halen with Sammy, even if he doesn't anymore. I don't know if he ever did, according to the stuff that Alex has said recently. But here's where things get a little interesting. Someone else posted this, all right? And if you were looking to get a response, and you're posting, keep in mind, you're posting on the actual Instagram picture that apparently Sammy put out there himself. He says here, most purists believe Van Halen ended with David Lee Roth. Ooh, well, give the guy credit, right, for having some really big cojones to do that. So, anyway, Hagar decided to respond. He says, it could have ended, my friend, but instead we went on to sell 50 million records and a #1 album, then sold out every building and stadium in the world for a whole decade. I don't know, mic drop thing, whatever. I don't want to drop the microphone on the floor because it'll break and then I won't have a way to do this. Hagar argues that Alex is not doing his brother's musical legacy any justice by not acknowledging all of the #1 albums and the great music that Eddie and I wrote together. Not Alex, but Eddie and I wrote together. To not acknowledge those 10 years of music is blasphemy. Wow. To his brother's musicianship, songwriting, and legacy. So we get into a religious conversation here. See, we can work God into this. No, not quite. So 10 years of music, and it's blasphemy not to acknowledge it. I would say it is a purposeful omission. I mean, Alex did this intentionally. He wants to remember his brother, and he believes that the best times. And what's weird is, he gives Roth all of this credit. Alex does, but, Roth is the one that did this to the whole Van Halen franchise, and they had to recruit Sammy Hagar in, and Hagar was already a brand. So 5150, which was a really big deal when it came out, people forget, and all of those albums, OU 812, that was a big deal. They were all big deals up until Balance. They were still making Van Halen type music well into the 90s, and that's because they were still such a big franchise, and Hagar was still a beast, meaning he could sing and write and play, and the other guys, they all struggled, I think, with substance abuse. I don't know about Michael Anthony, but, that whole thing went off the rails at the worst time, because that was kind of like planting a flag in the melodic rock world. Like there's one band left that's still doing this, and, they got this song called Top of the World, and it's a great song, but, that would be it after that. There wasn't a lot of melodic stuff that was on the radio after that, at least on rock stations. So Hagar insists that he wants this to end. He doesn't want to keep having to talk about Al. But Al apparently doesn't care and doesn't want to talk to Sammy. And he wants to work together again with Al, but Al looks as though like he's in no condition to work. All right? If you saw him at some of those book signings, I mean, he was hobbling in and out of the bookstores. And so he's in no condition to be in a rock band anymore, and thus that's why he sold all his stuff. People were wondering, how come he just sold it all? Well, he's not going to be playing drums anymore. But Hagar ends up saying this at the end, I just want to be friends with him again. It's kind of like what Neil Sean says about Steve Perry. Yeah, I just want to be friends. I don't want to work with this guy anymore. And Perry's like, no, I don't trust him. I don't trust him. I think he's got something else in mind. Look, we've talked about this, or I've spoken about this, where I think it's just really crappy how these older rock bands just can't get along and can't get back together and do stuff together and can't hang out, maybe do a picture. Imagine a picture of Sammy and Alex and posting that on Instagram. That would be better, right? Well, most purists agree that Sammy shouldn't be in this photo. I don't know. I'm not a Van Halen purist. I'm a music fan. So when I listen, I go, yeah, the Sammy stuff over here is pretty good. The Roth stuff over here is good as well. Hence, you get the best of both worlds. You know how that works? I think there's a compilation where they have all the Hagar stuff and the Roth stuff. And look, the Roth stuff sells better. It's gotten more spins. There's no question that they lost some of that momentum when Roth left the band. But Alex should be more upset at David Lee Roth than he is at Sammy Hagar. Now, I know Sammy said a bunch of stuff about Ed. It's in the book. He said stuff online. I have a feeling that's really where this all stems from. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things. I wake up in the morning, I'm going to do a video, and I'm wrong before I even start. So, and people have told me how wrong I am about so many topics. So when I go out here, it's like sticking your neck out, waiting for an axe to just chop it off. But you can be a music purist. You don't have to be a Roth purist or a Hagar purist. Sammy is a better vocalist than Dave. That's pretty self-evident. The fact that he's still out there and he's going to do another Vegas residency, I know everybody is diminished, but some are more diminished than others. So anyway, folks, I don't think this is the last legitimate Van Halen album. This is a great album, though. It's really tragic that it's 40 years old. And I was there when it came out. So you know how old I am. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand where the time went, but it's a new year, coming up on a new year. So I pray and hope that everyone has a great 2025. I think it's going to be better than 2024. I think things are only going to get better. Sounds like a Howard Jones song, but yeah, why not, right? And make sure you check out Jesus, because he is the season, right? He is the season all year long. He's the reason for every season. That's what I'm trying to say. I botched the ending, but God forgives me. It's too bad a lot of other people can't do that. But it's okay. We're starting all over again. It's going to be rough, but here we are. And thank you. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subbed yet, please do that. Also, there's Patreon. There's Buy Me a Coffee. And I think there's YouTube memberships too. So if you want to help support the channel, that would be awesome. All right. I'd really appreciate that. God bless everyone. Stay safe. If you're doing any New Year's type stuff or you see this afterwards, I guess it won't make any sense. Just be careful out there because, yeah, there are going to be a lot of crazy lunatic type people driving cars. So be careful.